The Young and the Restless Spoilers Shock. Noah had always carried the restless spirit of someone caught between two worlds, but now that spirit was being crushed under the weight of confinement. In Los Angeles, far from the elegance and menace of nice, he found himself ensnared in a trap he could not escape on his own. His messages were fragmented, coded cries for help that reached his parents in Genoa City with a desperation they had not felt from him before. Sharon read his words over and over, her heart tightening with each line, while Nick's jaw clenched in frustration, his protective instincts roaring to life. Their son was in danger, and whatever secret he was holding was powerful enough to topple someone entrenched in the shadows of Nice. He claimed to have knowledge that could defeat a force at play there, but time was running thin, and his location in Los Angeles was both a curse and a warning. Sharon and Nick knew that if Noah had been cornered once, it would happen again, and perhaps next time, there would be no chance for him to reach out. The moment the plea for help came through, their world narrowed to one focus: get to Noah. Sharon dropped everything, her calm exterior cracking under the urgency, while Nick's pragmatism drove them to move without hesitation. Within hours they were on a plane, bound first for Los Angeles, then to France if the trail demanded it. But as seasoned veterans of chaos and betrayal, they knew instinctively that this was bigger than a family rescue. Noah had stumbled into the path of something monstrous, a conspiracy weaving from the bright lights of LA to the secret-laden streets of Nice. And if his warnings were true, that he possessed knowledge capable of defeating someone in Nice, then he was not merely a victim but a target of immeasurable value. The involvement of law enforcement was inevitable. The moment Sharon and Nick began to trace Noah's steps, the trail intersected with the work of Detective Burrow, a man whose presence was as magnetic as it was unsettling. Played with sharp charisma by Matt Cohen, Burrow was not the kind of detective who blended into the background. He was charming, disarmingly so, but behind the easy smile lay a calculating mind, curious and relentless in pursuit of the truth. His appearance in their story was no coincidence. Los Angeles was his territory, and if Noah had been caught in something dangerous there, Burrow would be at the heart of the investigation. Sharon, ever empathetic, sensed that Burrow's interest was more than professional, that he had already connected dots leading beyond California's borders. Nick, cautious and wary, bristled at the thought of trusting another outsider with their family's fate, but even he could not deny that Burrow carried an energy that demanded attention. As events escalated, the narrative widened. From whispers in LA nightclubs to coded exchanges in European alleys, the names of two figures began to surface. Sienna Bacall and Roger Howarth's as-yet unnamed character. They were not mere criminals but orchestrators, pulling strings with a finesse that spoke of deep connections and ruthless ambition. Their presence was like a storm front moving closer, inevitable and destructive. Rumors suggested they were en route to Nice themselves, their operations converging with the very place Cain had staged his elegant distractions, and the same place where Claire had woven her nightmarish web. Their identities were cloaked in secrecy, but their power was undeniable. And then came the most unsettling whisper of all, that Sienna and Roger's characters were not strangers to Claire, but kin. The possibility struck Sharon and Nick like lightning. If these two villains were family, then Claire's cruelty was not an anomaly but a legacy, a reflection of bloodlines steeped in darkness. It reframed everything: her calculated imprisonment of Cole, her alliance with Holden, the shadows circling Nice. Could it be that Claire was not operating as a rogue force, but as the heir to something older, something rooted in Sienna and Roger's twisted empire? If so, then Noah's secret was not just dangerous, it was catastrophic. He might have uncovered proof of that lineage, or worse, evidence capable of destroying their fragile facade. His captivity in Los Angeles, then, was not random. It was a containment strategy, a way to keep him from reaching Nice before Sienna and Roger solidified their control. Detective Burrow's role deepened with each revelation. His curiosity was piqued not only by the puzzle of Noah's disappearance but by the threads leading across continents. He questioned everything: how Cain's grand events tied into these schemes, why Cole had vanished only to reappear imprisoned, and whether the secrets buried in that Nice cellar connected to larger criminal networks. For Sharon, his presence was a lifeline, someone who could move where she could not, who carried both authority and determination. For Nick, he was both an ally and a potential rival, a man whose charm could mask intentions not yet clear. But both parents understood one truth: they could not navigate this alone. Burrow's involvement might very well decide whether Noah lived or died. Meanwhile, the specter of Sienna Bacall loomed larger. Introduced as a woman of elegance and menace, her arrival promised a reckoning. She was no passing villain, her ties to Claire hinted at generational deceit, and her alliance with Roger's character suggested a force too powerful to dismiss. Together, they represented something that stretched far beyond nice, a network that spanned cities and pulled families like the Newmans into their orbit. If Claire was their blood, then Victoria's fight was only the beginning of a war that would engulf them all. As Sharon and Nick's plane cut through the night, their thoughts circled endlessly around their son. Noah was somewhere in Los Angeles, clutching a secret that had already drawn predators to his side. They would reach him, they would bring him back, but the shadow of nice loomed ahead. And in that shadow waited Claire, Holden, Kane's enigmatic diversions, Cole's chains, and now perhaps the blood relatives who had shaped Claire into what she had become. The pieces were converging, faster than anyone could contain. What began as a family's desperate attempt to rescue their son was evolving into a battle against legacies of darkness, a confrontation where truth and blood would collide. And at the center of it all stood Noah, whose survival, and whose secret, might decide whether the forces gathering in Nice were unmasked or whether they consumed everything in their path. That's a huge twist, and one that could completely reshape the Y&R canvas. If Sienna Bacall and Detective Burrow are indeed revealed to be Claire's biological parents, it flips the narrative from a story about a lone, corrupted young woman into a generational saga of manipulation, loyalty, and twisted love. Here's what makes this storyline so compelling and what fans could look forward to. A shocking family reveal. The notion that Sienna and Burrow are Claire's parents reframes everything we've seen so far. Suddenly, Claire isn't just acting out of cold calculation or personal vengeance, she is being protected, trained, and empowered by a pair of parents who are just as dangerous as she is. Burrow's charming detective persona becomes a mask, giving him access to information and legal authority he can twist to shield his daughter. Meanwhile, Sienna brings elegance and ruthlessness, establishing herself as a matriarch of deceit. Together, they form a power base that makes Claire far more formidable than anyone realized. Noah in the crosshairs. Noah becomes an even bigger target because of what he knows. If he holds the secret that could expose Claire, then Sienna and Burrow's priority will be silencing him before he can act. This instantly raises the stakes for Sharon and Nick, who are no longer just fighting for their son's safety but are going up against a family unit bound together by blood and secrecy. The idea that Noah could be crushed between Claire's ambition and her parents' protection adds a dark, tragic layer to his storyline. Villains with depth. What makes this potential arc so exciting is that Sienna and Burrow wouldn't just be new villains, they'd be parents defending their child at any cost. That motivation makes them sympathetic on some level, even as they cross moral lines. Soap fans love complex villains, and having Burrow torn between his law enforcement role and his role as a father could make him one of the most layered antagonists on the canvas. Sienna, as the glamorous yet cutthroat mother, would become the face of this new threat, tying elegance to brutality in a way that commands attention. Generational fallout. If Claire's parents are unmasked, it sets up ripple effects across the Newman family. Victoria would be devastated, not only because her daughter betrayed her, but because she was never truly hers to begin with in spirit. Sharon and Nick, trying to save Noah, would now be fighting a family war. And Victor himself would surely be pulled into the chaos once he realized that Burrow and Sienna weren't just players in a scheme but parents protecting blood. The generational clash would deepen the stakes and guarantee long-term story. What to expect? Fans can look forward to showdowns in Nice with Sharon, Nick, Victoria, and Noah caught between Claire and her parents. A web of lies unraveling, with Burrow manipulating the law while Sienna pulls strings behind the scenes. Family betrayal at its peak, as Victoria realizes she may never have had true control over Claire. A layered villain trio that gives the show a new dynasty of antagonists, as compelling as the Newmans or Abbotts. Sparkles. What makes this arc so exciting is that it promises not just shock value but longevity. With Claire, Sienna, and Burrow as a twisted family unit, Y&R could build years of drama around loyalty, betrayal, hidden secrets, and impossible choices.